pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me.
After a difficult and technical start to the season last time out at VIR, we come now to one of the longer, more faster road courses in the United States, the Road America Circuit, here for the Svenska eRacingligan's LMP2 Series. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me, my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso. Tony, we had a lot of fun last time out a couple of weeks ago at Virginia International Raceway. We come to a racetrack that we've seen a little bit more often here on the channel. It's a very fast track. It's a very long track, but also can be very, very difficult.
It absolutely can be very difficult. You know, this is going to be one of the more. I'm looking at the schedule right now, Frank. This is going to be one of the more technically demanding tracks that we are going to see all season. As far as you have to figure out how to carry the speed around this place. Sebring, more corners. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, not quite as technical. Road Atlanta, not quite as technical. Daytona International, not quite as technical, but Daytona and Road America have a lot in common in the fact that you do have to carry the momentum around this place. And that's what we're seeing already just here in the practice session. Big shocker, who's sitting at the top of the pile right now.
Yeah, the big shocker is the driver who was not allowed to participate in last week's event, or the season opening event, because he was not registered with the series just yet. Sam Hammerstedt, and boy, oh boy, is he putting an emphasis on this race here tonight. 1.3 seconds clear of Jonas Gunnarsson and Gustav Jansson right now. The three guys that were really right up at the top during the GT3 series that we saw last year.
They were. So it's not really a shock who the top three are here in the timing and scoring charts. But getting back to what we saw last week, we're seeing a lot of those Alcantech cars and a lot of the Bright Esports cars having the pace here in the LMP2 car more so than they have the GT car. And I think if Hammerstedt has any hiccup, everybody behind him is going to pounce.
Yep, absolutely. And one thing that we did see a lot of at Virginia International Raceway was the dominance of the Bright Esports cars. Now we have some of the more of the Force cars in. One of the Alcantech drivers is here as well. Is Bright Esports going to be able to carry that dominance over from what we saw 2 weeks ago at VIR, getting not just a 1-2-3, but a 1-2-3-4?
I don't think we're going to see that again this season. But Bright Esports has one of the strongest teams in this series. That, you know, the team that they've got now is stronger than what we saw in the GT division. So the fact that, you know, we were able to see a 1-2-3-4 with a couple of heavy hitters missing last week, you know, really speaks volumes. This is going to be the deciding factor of what that team championship is going to really stretch itself out to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be quite a day here. Again, an hour and 40 minutes. We saw the hour and 45 minutes at VIR last time out 2 weeks ago. This time out, it's going to be an hour and 40 minutes. So 5 minutes shorter, but again, with a longer racetrack. So it's certainly still going to have its kick. It's going to have its little quirks as we're seeing cars out on track right now into this qualifying session. Jonas Gunnarsson right now, one of the first drivers out on track in that number 33.
Jonas had a good running last week. You know, didn't quite get the finish that he was deserved of maybe. The last time we saw these guys out.
I don't think he was here the last time out, was he?
No, you know what? You're right.
He was. No, pardon me. No, my bad.
No,
my bad.
Here.
Seventh. Seven he finished.
Yes. But he had a strong car all day.
Yeah.
The biggest thing these guys are going to have to worry about coming in tonight is the weather. I'm looking at it in, you know, freedom units, and I'm kind of cringing at what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah, it is going to be a hot one here today, and we will
hot and windy.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later on. It's completely different to what I'm seeing out my window in real life currently, where it's cold and raining.
It's cold and snowing here, so.
honestly, I'd rather be where you are. As we're seeing.
Are you high?
Yes, actually. As Jonas Gunnarsson, we're watching him circulate this racetrack. Everyone has gone out except for Gustav Jansson and Pontus Nordgren. Those are the only two drivers that have not gone out. This is going to be lone qualifying here today. This is not a 10-minute group session. This is lone qualifying. And with how long these laps are, it would behoove of you to get out as quickly as you possibly can, which is what everyone except, again, for Jansson and Nordgren have done.
They're probably looking at it of, okay, maybe we can get a little cloud bank coming over. It'll cool the track a couple of degrees. And with the way that the weather is right now, the wind could die down just a couple of miles an hour. Track temperatures cool off by maybe a degree or two. And, you know, that's when you can really blister one. But they've got to get at least one in to not start shotgun on the field.
Seeing Lucas Holmgren on track right now in the 021. VIR was not a race that Holmgren participated in, so this will be a season date. 14th was, boy, oh boy. It's been a long day for me already. As Homer and 14th finisher, 15th fastest back at VIR 2 weeks ago. And that right there, the corner he's going through right now, turn 6, one of the toughest corners around this racetrack. It may not seem like much. It may just seem like a 90-degree left-hander, but when you get down in the car, and I'm sure we will certainly have onboards throughout the race, once you get down in the car, that is a very, very difficult corner to manage because it's completely blind until you're about halfway through it.
Well, the other thing, too, is you're cresting a hill into the braking zone. Mm-hmm. So as you're wanting to really apply the brakes and get the car woed down, you've got to wait a split second for the car to settle as it crests that knoll, or else you're going for a ride. And, I'm looking at some of the deals that the guys are going to have to deal with tonight. You're going to the ice cream parlor at 25x, and then you're going to have to serve a penalty with every 15x.
See, Michael has.
I'm sorry. I do take that back. 25x is the cap, and then anything over 25, you're going to have to serve a drive-through.
Michael Haflidason getting the first lap in at a 153.31, and Sam Hammerstedt completely eclipses that at a 152.46 and decides that was good enough, and I don't seem to deny it.
Shocker. When you're over a second to the good in the practice session, just lay one down, get a safe one in, and then race it. And then Hammerstedt already is quicker. That lap that he just turned for qualifying is still quicker than anybody went in practice other than himself.
Philip Axelson, 6th fastest at a 153.750 on his first lap in the 019, who we're seeing on screen right now. We'll switch over to the opening round winner, Alexander Olsen, led 60 of the 65 laps that would eventually be completed at VIR 2 weeks ago.
Currently sits 4th quick.
53.634.
Where he's coming through right now, that section leading into the double right-hander, it is so sketchy through there.
Very sketchy on his way into Canada corner as well, as he was tail end happy there in that 292.
Well, that would be the double right-hander.
Oh,
versus Canada corner. Just coming out of the kink, because you can't really lift in this car. If you do come off the throttle going through the kink in this car, it's going to unsettle it more than if you try to just keep your foot planted and trail brake. And, that's something these guys are really going to have to be mindful of, especially on the start. And if we get a restart, it could wreak complete havoc with these guys, because too wide is not something you want to try to do on a regular basis coming through the kink.
Olsen 2/100ths of a second slower on his second lap. Jonas Gunnarsson betters his time very, very slightly. Not his position, however, as we see Melvin Atkinson completing his second lap right now. Atkinson 9th quickest. He'll jump up to 8th ahead of Victor Hammerstrom, as we see Sebastian Magnussen completing his lap in the 8.77.
Haflidi Johansson in the 52 is on a nice lap as he's coming into the carousel right now. And, Frankie, can we go on board with Haflidi and see what it's like coming through the kink that he's about to hit?
Sure, let's do that. Jumping on board with him right now. That's a corner you have to have commitment in.
That's the kink.
Yep.
And it's in the LMPs and in the open wheel Indy cars, Formula cars, you don't really have to lift, but in the GT cars, on fresh tires, you might be able to get away with it. Later in a run, forget it. You're going into a guardrail.
Heflidi Johansson invalidated his first lap by running off track, so we'll see if he got a good one in here. Teammate running in second, we'll see, and he jumps up to 16th at a 1:56.60, so a valid time for him. As Pontus Nordgren, again, one of the guys that had gone out a little bit later, about to complete his second lap after invalidating his first. And Nordgren goes up to 15th at a 1:56.39. So a solid lap for him, as we got one more car on track right now. That is the 757, sorry.
And Jonas Soderberg as Gustav Jansson electing to not take time in qualifying. And we can say that with conviction, considering that he's not been on track yet and there's not enough time to get the outlap and a flyer in.
These lap times at about 2 minutes right now, and Jansson with a minute 15 left on the clock. I would highly doubt it, as Soderberg not able to get that second lap in, so he will use the rest of his time in the qualifying session as a practice. So that will do it for the qualifying session, and based off of what we saw in practice, there was little doubt, and that little bit of doubt didn't come up.
Well, the good news is they made it slightly better in qualifying session than they were able to do in the practice session, but you also have to figure they may have had some drafting help on the practice or in the practice. Hammerstedt may have had some help during the practice as far as drafting help goes, but just head-to-head, no drafting partners to deal with, you're still almost a second to the clear of the field.
Yeah, because he was down in the 51-second bracket when, by the time that qualifying had ended. So we'll take a look now as we get into the race session here. Session switching over, so we will now jump on over and take a look at the starting grid here for tonight's race at the time of 1 minute 52.355. Sam Hammerstedt takes the pole position here. He's not an independent. He is running for Forza Esports. Get that changed. Michael Heflidesen will start on the outside of row number 1. Jonas Gunnarsson and Alexander Olsen make up row number 2. Row 3 goes to Daniel Holmer and Philip Axelson. Lucas Holmeren and Melvin Ackeson in row number 4. Row 5 will see Christopher Dahlstrand and Pontus Nordgren.
Row number 6 is going to go to Marcus Stiller and Linus Broström. Pontus Nordgren I'm showing in 13th, Frank, with Christopher Dahlstrand.
I went
Sebastian Magnussen. Yeah, Sebastian Magnussen has, and Victor Hammerstrom have row number 5. Row 6, Marcus Stiller and Linus Broström. Row 7 is going to go to Pontus Nordgren and Christopher Dahlstrand. Sebastian Broberg and August Jansson going to roll it from row number 8. Row 9 is going to see Heflidi Johansson and Philip Broberg. Bjorn Broström and Gustav Jansson. Bjorn Broström and Jonas Soderberg are going to roll it from row number 10. And starting shotgun in the field in 21st, Gustav Jansson.
Used to click in the double arrows on the grid for to move this, but with this overlay, which is still rather new, only the second time that we've used it on a broadcast, I can't do that. So that's the mistake there in the grid. As we get set to work our way onto the parade lap, let's take a look at those weather conditions that Tony had mentioned earlier. Right now, it is quite a warm day, 28 degrees ambient temperature, 39 degree track temperature with a nearly 20 kilometer per hour wind. That is a lot of wind, and like you had mentioned, you don't need freedom units to know that that is a warm racetrack.
For those of you who still use freedom units, that would be 83 and 102 Fahrenheit, and an 11 mile an hour wind gusting to 16.
And we just saw that peak at around 23K on screen right there as they had just began to roll off to begin what will be this hour and 40-minute marathon here today from the Road America circuit. And with this being such a short season, you absolutely need to get as many points as you possibly can as quickly as you can, because next week at the completion of the next round of the season at Sebring, we are going to be halfway through the season already.
We are.
I didn't mean to choke you up.
Well, no, I was just kind of thinking to myself as I'm watching these guys parade around this joint. That's a lot of blue in the front half of the field, Frank.
Absolutely is. The blue of Bright Esports, again, which dominated back at VIR 2 weeks ago to open up this season, claiming all 3 spots on the podium, plus P4. Alexander Olsen taking the win. Daniel Holmer, Daniel Blomqvist finishing on the podium, and then Melvin Atkinson rounding out that 1, 2, 3, 4. Worth noting that I do not see Blomqvist here today. And
he's not here today.
Gustav Jansson, we saw him in practice. He did not take the grid here for this race, so he will either be starting from pit road or he will not be participating here today. We're still waiting to figure out which one is which.
I'm showing him in the session. No, he's not in the session.
So there you go. Found it out. It was the latter of the two.
Throughput.
So we might be having connection issues that'll keep him from participating today. As we head down the long back straightaway through the kink, and Tony, we've seen a lot of races here at Road America. Turn 1. This many cars at this highest speed, it is certainly going to be something to watch.
Well, Frank, you've heard of Carvana, which is like a Gearhead's version of Nirvana.
Yes.
We're about to see Carnage, which is a Gearhead's version of Hell.
Coming
through Canada Corner.
Coming through Canada Corner. Only 2 more turns to go before we get back around this big, long behemoth of a racetrack. As getting set to head through that final corner for an hour and 40 minutes of racing. Tony, take us away.
Well, the only thing that's left to say is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab a brat and a nice cold beverage. It's time to get it on in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Go Cheeseheads! Race fans, it's show time!
Great start from that 74 of Sam Hammerstedt as everybody making their way down the front straightaway. Ooh, flashing of the lights, a little bit of a look there from Michael Haflidason, but nothing too dangerous going into that first corner.
So far, everybody's gotten through there cleanly. And again, cleanly through 2 as well.
Victor Hammerstrom's off.
Just as I say that, Hammerstrom makes a liar out of me. Thanks, Victor.
Victor Hammerstrom in the number 62. Wonder why that's showing up there. That's interesting. Oh, around goes somebody in the front there. That's Melvin Axelson. Philip Axelson, sorry.
He's nosed it into the concrete barrier.
And he has.
Here comes Hammerstrom.
Side by side up here towards the front. Marcus Stiller and August Johansson. Johansson a little bit on the lights there. And then Pontus Nordgren going off in turn 9.
And that's a difficult combination to get through cleanly. You know, you're still trying to recover from turn 6 Corvette corner as you come under the Corvette bridge. and then you've got a right, left, right combo that leads into the carousel, and it just, you've got to have the car settled before you get there if you want to carry any speed through that carousel, and that's exactly what we just saw.
On board right now with Pontus Nordgren as he makes his way through the final couple of corners here at Road America. Back up front, Sam Hammerstedt. 1 second lead over Michael Haflidason. Haflidason with 2 seconds over Jonas Gunnarsson, so pretty spread out across the front of the field as the two Bright Esports cars of Holmer and Ackerson run nose to tail.
Starting to apply a little pressure to each other as they're coming into the downhill under the Sargento Bridge. And, you know, it's kind of tightening up behind, or was tightening up behind them for the last spot in the top 10. That's since relaxed a little bit as Atkinson going after Homer into turn 5.
Lucas Holmeren going around in turn 5. Saw that earlier on with Philip Axelson. It's going to take him a minute before he can get righted again.
And that is so easy to do in that corner, Frank, because you can kind of see it as he's getting back pointed in the right direction. There's the rumble strips on the outside, but then there's sealer on the outside of that, and that sealer is very greasy, especially in the hot conditions that we're dealing with today.
Also saw in that corner Alexander Olsen under braking, losing a lot of time to Jonas Gunnarsson. Has lost about a half a second, or has lost a full second, I should say, to Jonas Gunnarsson. Now trying to gain it back as Homer and Ackerson continue to battle behind. Battle towards the back. There's Jonas Schoberg trying to catch up to Philip Broberg.
Right in front of them, the last spot, one of the last 2 spots in the top 10, Sebastian Broberg and August Johansson are going after each other. Linus Brostrom in that mix now as well. That's 9th, 10th, and 11th, all within drafting range of each other.
There they are at 877 as well as Sebastian Magnussen heading this train right now with Marcus Stiller behind. Stiller getting on the brakes a little bit early to give his team
off his teammate.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Thank you for helping me find the words, Tony.
I am so sorry for
No, I'm not being a jerk. I'm being serious.
Oh, okay. Under the Sargento Bridge they come, and that is an angry pack of wolves right there. And all 5 of those guys on any given day, except when Sam Hammerstedt is doing Sam Hammerstedt things.
Couple guys locking up. Philip Broberg locked up.
Magnussen's off track.
Yep, he locked up as well out of that front group, leading that front group. Saw a couple of cars smoking going down into that corner, and that would have been why.
What I was going to say was any one of those 5 guys in any given race, if he showed up in a public server of an iRacing official LMP2 race, they'd have a shot at the win, except when Sam Hammerstedt shows up and does Sam Hammerstedt things.
Hammerstedt's already pulled away by 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Jonas Gunnarsson has all he can handle right now with Alexander Olsen behind him. As Olsen, there's a couple of corners that would appear that Olsen just doesn't quite have the ability to keep up with Gunnarsson, but when he puts it together, he's quick.
Well, they're still slunging it out from about 7th on back. Looking at Sebastian Broberg in 8th, and he was all over Marcus Stiller coming into the S's that lead into the penultimate corner.
Official fastest lap of the race, Sam Hammerstedt with a 1:53.29 officially. Taking that away from Jonas Gunnarsson, who had a 1:53.76.
Now, Hammerstedt did go faster. The only problem is he put too many tires off track and they negated the lap on him. He's already gone 52s.
Notice
in
that
race trim.
I noticed that there. Alexander Olsen taking a really wide entry into turn number 5, the downhill, and we'll see what he does next lap to see if that's a line or if he had just made a mistake. But that's, he made a mistake there, jumping over that curb. But that could definitely be a big advantage for him to be able to straighten up that car a little bit. That does mean he has to extend his braking zone on the other end.
It does, but if it's saving tires and it's not costing you time, deeper into this run we go, the more dividends that's going to pay.
Coming through Canada corner, Gunnarsson certainly does have the pace on the 292. Not showing that same pace that he had a couple of weeks ago at VIR. We'll take a ride on board here. We'll start with this big uphill to get to the start-finish line, and then a long straightaway to get down to a tight turn 1.
And turn 1, a decreasing radius corner, where turn 2 actually is an increasing radius. Well, turn 2 is that little kink right there. Turn 3 is a decreasing radius. Oi.
And this here is technically turn 4 under the Sargento Bridge. And again, see this wide entry here. Or pardon me, that was 3A. This is turn 4, breaking into turn 5. Ooh, that's Michael Haflidason, your second place runner. That was just around backwards.
He's still trying to get that car pointed in the right direction.
There he goes now.
Dropped to 6th, and now he's a good 7 seconds off of that battle we were watching with Olsen and Holmer. So, good luck.
Now trying to really get that car pointed in the right direction and off and running. We'll take a look at, we'll catch you up on some of the incidents that happened at the start of this race. Here's Victor Hammerstrom going down into turn 3. Watch the 62. Came in way too hot and then ended up bailing out. Smart decision by him. Haflidi Johansson also, we completely missed him going around. Too much gas. The 177 may have helped him the 117, pardon me, may have helped him as well. Philip Axelson, this going through turn 5. So a couple of guys have problems there already. Pontus Nordgren we saw get on the grass, have a wiggle. Down at turn 9, here's Lucas Holmeren going down into turn 5 the next lap. See if he does the same thing. Oh, he lost it before. Sebastian Magnussen.
Just went into the pits.
There he is. He hit the inside curb there, so he had a little bit of a different issue than Victor Hammerstrom, who is coming behind him. Oh, this is Victor Hammerstrom again. We completely missed this down at Canada Corner. He's battling with the 41 of Bjorn Broberg. Now watch the, ooh, that's Stiller and August Johansson. Or pardon me, that was Stiller and, oh no, it was Johansson, sorry. So Johansson just diving in a little too deep there. Door-to-door contact between the 013 and the 007. Then the incident with Michael Haflidason just now going into turn 5. Just way too hot overall. Sebastian Magnussen going off. This is probably why he's in the pits right now. Yep, that would be it. Down at Canada Corner.
Eesh. There's a slugfest going on for 12th right now, Frank.
There's Christopher Dahlstrand running wide in turn 5. So now you're caught up with all of the incidents that happened, as there goes another one, as I believe it might have been Lucas Holmgren that went off track.
It was. He had some help from August Johansson.
Oh! Broberg now off. Oh, a hard hit for Philip Broberg on the inside.
And that is Bluetooth left front suspension, and the technology doesn't exist for that to actually work.
Boy, oh boy. This has not been a good day for those Bright Esports cars, especially after how the first race went. Compare them to each other. As Daniel Holmer having an off in turn 5. You can see front end damage on that number 5 there, with right around the light.
Saw a lot of that last week at VIR. Battle for 13th, hot and heavy between Lucas Holmgren and August Johansson.
Holmgren a big wiggle coming out of turn 6. This guy's now 5 seconds off of Philip Axelson, who they were just behind not that long ago. Linus Broström also getting quite the run on Sebastian Broberg. Sebastian Broberg in the 53, Broström in the 71.
And I know we talk about this quite a bit, Frank, but with the 2 different series going on with the Svenska eRacingligan, and the fact that every week these guys are changing both car and track, back and forth between the Cup car and the LMP2s now. The fact that you're seeing a lot of the fast guys on the ovals still showing pace on the road courses and vice versa. Victor Hammerstrom just has a throughput. But, the fact that these guys are jumping back and forth between the 2 cars, and you're seeing some of the same names in both divisions at the front of the field week in and week out, that's a testament to this league and how strong the driver pool is from top to bottom.
Absolutely is, without a doubt, as we're on board with Linus Broström. Oh, and you're absolutely right. And let's talk about that Cup Series for just a moment, because coming up next Thursday, that is a properly big race coming up on Thursday. That is Talladega Superspeedway. We remember the Daytona finish from earlier this season. Guys 4 wide, winning by 6 1/1000ths of a second. However, this time there's a little bit more on the line, because next Thursday decides the cutoff for the playoffs. Playoff racing starts in a month, and next Thursday at Talladega, that is the final race before the playoffs.
And unlike a lot of leagues that we broadcast, it's not the top 16 in points with a win, it's 15. So there's going to be one very unhappy person next week, and of all the wild card races to throw at these guys this deep into the season, I wouldn't want to have my playoff career on the line going into Talladega.
Yeah, no, that's very similar to real life, as Jonas Gunnarsson.
Let's not talk about the real world Daytona race.
No, I meant more for the cutoff, as Gunnarsson and Olsen battling quite closely once again. That gap had grown quite a bit between those two. As we'll take a look at the time delta between the two, that gap had grown to about 2 seconds, and it's slowly been coming down over these last couple of laps. So Olsen's starting to finally find a little bit of pace in this car.
It took him a little bit to get this track figured out, but I think he's starting to do so as he goes a little bit wide coming into the kink. And that exit you get out of the carousel is going to be the determining factor of what you can get down the back straightaway into Canada Corner. And he actually did pick up some time sideways and around.
Well, whatever time he did pick up, he just lost it all right there.
And then some.
As Alexander Olsen will lose out to Melvin Atkinson, he'll lose out most likely here to Michael Haflidason, and now he'll have to fight that 81, who's been on a tear.
Holmer's a good 5 seconds back, so he's got a little bit of breathing room, but he's going to want to get by Haflidason as soon as he can.
Well, to be fair, Michael Haflidason was running in second before he spun.
Good recovery drive for him. Already back up in the fourth here, only on lap 10.
The 62 of Victor Hammerstrom coming out of pit road, trying not to get in the way of those two. While we were watching that battle, August Johansson has had another excursion down at Canada Corner, getting loose on entry and then slinging it out wide. Fortunately, didn't hit that tire wall. A little bit later on, this is at the top of the hill in turn 6, running wide there again. And this is the corner that we were talking about being one of the more difficult corners on the track. And there's Alexander Olsen going around as well.
You know what? Let's go on board with Pontius Nordgren, and you should be able to see it from an onboard with him as he's coming into 5 right now.
Yeah, on board with Nordgren right now, and then watch as he's going to come up this hill. You have to guess where this apex is. You don't see it until you're already turning in, and we're sitting a little bit higher. Our eyesight is a little bit higher than his right now, so we're seeing it before he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to get that corner wrong, and then it just completely screws up the next handful of corners until you get to the back straightaway, and then you hope you've got a good exit coming out of the carousel so you can get a good run through the kink and into Canada Corner cleanly. And right now, Stiller's starting to pull on Nordgren, and that's going to let Axelson start to reel him in. So Nordgren right now is in a sandwich that he doesn't want to be in.
It's that theory of slow in, fast off, because especially around a track like this, where the straightaways are so long, you don't necessarily have to be fast going into a corner, say like the one they just went through right now, the final corner. You want to be fast going out because then you carry more speed down this long straightaway, therefore gaining time.
And you know, we were talking during the pre-race, this track is all about carrying that momentum, and it can help you and it can hurt you. And something happened with Linus Broström.
It did a couple of laps ago. We'll take a look at it right now. What happened with Linus is going once again into turn 5. This has been the trouble spot here today. Coming through. Just a little too much gas too early. Locked it down when he realized it was going around, so he doesn't lose too much time, nor does he face the wrong way.
So he was mitigating the penalty for that mistake.
It is one of the nice things about these cars specifically, and the GT cars as well. You can get away with it in some of them, not all of them, but some of them. If you feel the back end coming around, if you just lock on the brakes, the car will kind of hold that slide. It won't go any further either way, so you have a better chance at correcting it if you just jump on the brakes when you feel the car come out from under you. Nice little feature.
That's the beauty about this car and the GT cars is they do have traction control available.
Yes.
Whether or not you want to use it, that's on the driver. As oh boy,
it was Marcus Stiller that went off in the 013.
Canada Corner all wrong.
Johannes Nordgren still under serious fire from Stiller's teammate Philip Axelsen. As
Got a shot at him going into one.
Here we go. Down into turn one. Philip Axelsen takes the spot.
Nordgren was thinking about crossing him over, but then thought against it.
Axelsen's best lap around this racetrack was a 54.60. Compare that to Nordgren, whose best lap is a 55.7. So there is a little bit of pace disparity between these two. He's just behind Lucas Holmeren trying to get around Marcus Stiller. He's for 12th. And Stiller takes it too hot.
And that's what happens when you get Corvette Corner all wrong. Not as bad as we've seen in some other series that we broadcast from here. But definitely not a good thing to have happen. Because now he's got to spend the next 4 corners getting those tires clean.
Yep. Back up front, Sam Hammerstedt currently leads by 12.5 seconds over Jonas Gunnarsson. However, the battle is for third because Michael Haflidason has shown his pace. He has flexed his muscle. He is the second fastest car on the racetrack right now, is that number 81, and he has caught Melvin Atkinson, who now takes a defensive line going into turn one, and because of that, will be able to hold the position.
For now.
For now.
And here we go. Contact.
And there was a little bit there that looked very similar to the situation we saw in replay on the first lap with the 81's teammate Johansson.
Not happy.
No, he's not. Saw the flashing of the lights.
And they're still leaning on each other.
And that's not to say the 086 of Atkinson's doing anything wrong. It's good defending, taking the racing line away.
Yeah, but, you know.
This is a big scrap right here.
Mess around and find out. Next thing you know, they're both going to be chasing down Alexander Olsen.
I think everyone knows right now that second place is really the benchmark unless Sam Hammerstedt makes a mistake. But Michael Haflidason that last time around just did his fastest lap of the race. Granted, that was draft aided, I should say. Atkinson taking that defensive line. Now to the inside goes Michael Haflidason, and Haflidason will now get the spot. Olsen got caught watching, and Olsen goes straight on in Canada corner.
And our leader is in the pits.
Well, thank goodness for that extended runoff where Olsen is. As you're right, Tony, both cars down pit road, as are Michael Haflidason and Melvin Atkinson. Daniel Holmer coming in.
See what Linus Brostrom decides to do here.
You hear that chime there, letting the drivers know you are down pit road. You're officially under pit road speed. Listen for the chime here. Once he gets that yellow cone, listen for the chime. That's the signal to the driver. You are on pit road. Is everybody coming down pit road? No one has passed pit road up yet.
Well, with the pace these guys have been going, I can't say I blame them. And it looks like everybody's going 4 in fuel here.
Sam Hammerstedt.
Down and away.
Yep.
36-38 in the box. Not too shabby of a stop for the Forest Esports team.
Haflida Johansson in 15th would be the next one. Now Bjorn Brostrom to come around. And Brostrom pits. So everybody down.
We said it was a 36-3 for Hammerstedt. Gunnarsson goes even quicker, 36-1.
Not as fast as Daniel Holmer, though, who's right to the back of Melvin Atkinson, did it in 35.02, and even quicker still. Boy, those Bright Esports guys are quick. A 34.9 for Sebastian Broberg.
Great.
Drilling those pit crews at Bright Esports. So here comes
Gentlemen,
Holmer.
contrary to popular belief, drinking that many Red Bulls before a pit stop is not the healthiest thing to do.
Certainly give you a fast time. It may not be healthy, but it'll get you a fast time. As Holmer will jump Melvin Atkinson on pit stops. And with that, we will take our first break of the day. Sam Hammerstedt currently out in front by a comfortable 14.5 seconds here from Road America.
Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig. Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Just under 35 minutes into tonight's hour and 40-minute race here at VIR, at Road America, the Storängens Bilvåra at Road America. Sam Hammerstedt currently leading by 18.2 seconds. He's pulled out a further 4 seconds from the time that we were in break. Jonas Gunnarsson in second thanks to pit stops. Michael Haflidason has jumped the two Bright Esports cars that you're currently seeing on screen right now, battling for fourth. Daniel Holmer in the 79, Melvin Atkinson in the 086. That is your current top five, and then another 14.5 seconds to go before you get to Sebastian Broberg. Another 5.5 to Linus Broström, who is being caught rapidly by Alexander Olsen.
It took Olsen a little bit longer than he probably wanted to try to get this car sorted out here tonight. But he seems to have gotten a handle on it. He's calmed himself down, and he's starting to click off consistent sub-55 second laps, sub-minute 55s.
Took him about 45 seconds to get that car out of the gravel trap there in the extended runoff there at Canada Corner, as we see Daniel Holmer still just keeping Melvin Atkinson at bay. A little bit further behind, there is the 757 battling the 013 behind. Also catching up to the 087 of Pontus Nordgren just in front.
And you know, it may not seem like a lot, but you know, we're seeing pockets start to form of guys that are pretty evenly matched as far as safety rating and iRatings go. And you know, you take away the top couple of cars in this piece tonight. Wow, Stiller just went for a ride coming out of 2.
Yeah, he had a big save there that he had to make. As we see these guys heading through, another big wiggle there from Jonas Sjöberg. Linus Broström and Alexander Olsen once again still getting closer. That gap is now down to about 3/4 of a second. And, I remember what I was going to say now. When we get pit stops, typically the field does tend to spread out a little bit. Depending upon how fast those pit stops are or slow, you tend to see these big gaps and guys start to get shuffled around, and the faster guys, if they have a slower stop, start catching up to some of the slower guys that they haven't really raced around just yet, who had faster stops, and that's what we're seeing right now throughout this field.
Which in a lot of cases is good to see, is Olsen continues to steadily reel in Broström. He's now in the drafting slipstream, so look for a move to be made going into the downhill going into 5.
Just about an hour to go here, a couple ticks of the clock away from that hour left. Because right now this is your closest pairing on track right now. Well, can't get much closer than that, as around Linus Broström goes Alexander Olsen in that 292. Olsen back up to 7th. It's not quite a Bright Esports 1, 2, 3, 4, but it is a Bright Esports 4, 5, 6, 7 right now.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Gunnarsson is driving for 4s, correct?
Jonas Gunnarsson? No, he is driving for Alcantech.
Aha, because the car paint is not showing up for me, and I don't know why.
I'm seeing a black car as well.
Okay, I don't feel so bad now.
Forza Esports leading this race with Sam Hammerstedt out in front. Alcantech with Jonas Gunnarsson in second. Michael Haflidason with AM Racing Team in third. And then, as we had mentioned, it is the 4, 5, 6, 7 of Bright Esports, which is now going to have a change up at the front of it, as Melvin Atkinson out in front of Daniel Holmer now after laps and laps and laps of plugging away. He has finally gotten around that number 79.
And you know Homer's not going to be a happy camper because he hates to follow anybody, even if it is his own teammate. And the fact that they are starting to gain on third in this little freight train. Here we go.
Here they go again.
Homer going to look to the inside going into the downhill.
Good exit out of turn 3 for Homer, and the draft gets him that fourth spot back, I should say.
You can kind of see just how early Atkinson was jumping on the binder to make sure he didn't punt Homer going into 6.
Both of these two fighting within the same delineation of Bright Esports. Both of these two driving for the Oi Drinks branch of Bright Esports. Oi Drinks, OY Drinks.
Oi. Okay, Oi Drinks. Gotcha. Slightly different configuration than what we saw in the GT series.
Yes.
These guys have kind of moved around since then. Matter of fact, I think Atkinson and Homer were both driving to pick last in the GT portion of the series.
That is who Sebastian Broberg is driving for in the number 53. He finds himself in a nice little pocket right now. He's 16 and a half seconds behind the battle we were just watching, and about 4.5 seconds ahead of Alexander Olsen, who is just a part of the main Bright Esports team. So it's Bright Esports by Oi Drinks in P4 and 5, picked last in P6, and then just Bright Esports in P7, with just Forza Esports at P8.
All right, then.
And pretty soon, if you remember, that's also not going to be a Forza Esports car in P8.
Correct.
After this season.
Linus, one of the longtime stablemates of Forza Esports, is actually going
creators, I believe.
One of it was. If memory serves me correctly, I think Marcus Hagman told me one time that it was Linus, Jonas Fors, Marcus, and I forget who the fourth one was that kind of started that team. But Linus moving on to a different stable.
Trying to find it. Oh, he's going to be joining Bright Esports actually at the end of the season.
Which would explain why he's got so much blue on that car now.
3.5-year run at Forza Esports as one of the founding members of the team. Will be moving to Bright Esports at the end of the season. That would be the Cup season, I should say. So not until about May, the end of May, will this switch take place. Which would mean right now it would be a Bright Esports 4 through 8.
This is true. This is very true.
Homer and Atkinson still have not let each other go. As Daniel Homer still out in front, had that slight bit of relaxation which allowed Atkinson to get by, but ever since then he's kept his foot on the loud pedal as Philip Axelson in the 019 still trying to keep Lucas Homer in behind him. This is for 9th between these two. Homer taking a little peek, not close enough though to be able to make the lunge.
Not yet anyways.
Getting closer and closer over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, just wait till the downhill. That seems to be the most advantageous portion for passing here tonight. That and going into Canada Corner.
Another one of the Forza Esports drivers is Lucas Holmgren. Going in turn 5, backs out of it.
He was looking. The thing is, Axelson had it well spotted and covered. So now Holmgren's going to have to regroup and try it all over again.
It's
He
amazing.
is close enough to possibly make the move going into Canada Corner, though, depending on what type of drive he gets coming out of the carousel.
It's amazing with how much speed that these cars carry and how quickly they build said speed up. Just how brave these guys can be going into Corvette Corner up there at the top of the hill, not knowing where, not being able to see at least where the apex of that corner is. As we see the track map on your screen, pick your favorite driver's number. Where he is where he is on the track is where he is in relation to everybody else. Going into Canada Corner, a very close little bit there as Atkinson and Holmer switch spots again. Holmer running off at the exit of turn 1. That will seal the position to Atkinson for now. Take a look and see what happened there. This is coming out of turn 1. Well, if we can find every tree to sit behind, that would be awesome. There we go. Grand camera work there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Proud of you.
It's Philip Axelson. Still trying to work his way around Lucas Holm, or still trying to keep ahead of Lucas Holmgren. Into turn 5, Holmgren makes a big gain there, a big lunge. That 021 is better on the brakes. However, Axelson appears to still be just a little bit better overall.
I'm sure if Holmgren wanted to really press the issue, he could make that pass stick. But he realizes that, you know, we're just tickling the halfway mark.
Getting closer to pit stops as well here. Sam Hammerstrom working on lap 24 right now. Every driver came into pit on lap 13, so we're maybe a lap or two away from seeing everybody come down pit road. Sebastian Broberg came in on lap 12, so he came in a lap before everybody. Running in 6th currently. As we continue to ride off the back, looking down the tail fin of this Dallara P217. Philip Axelson in control of the car you're seeing on screen. As Michael Heflidison has had another off. Once again in turn 5. Got right up behind Bjorn Brostrom and really had to slam the brakes on in order to keep from running into the back of the 41.
And he is not a happy camper. I don't know much Swedish, but I know those words. I do know those words, guys.
Ooh, down to the inside goes Lucas Holmgren, and Holmgren will finally make the pass stick on Philip Axelson. So the
5
020
was going to be one of those spots that you're going to be looking at. Now the question is, can Axelson get him back going into Canada Corner? That remains to be seen. It all depends on what type of speed Axelson can carry coming out of the carousel.
And that's the next big passing zone. There's a couple of big passing zones through here. Naturally, turn 1, a good passing zone. Turn 5, if you can manage it. Turn 9, if you get a good enough run. Turn 9 is a pretty decent spot to pass, as well as Canada Corner.
And Axelson's not close enough to make something happen in Canada Corner without putting both at risk right now.
About a quarter of a second behind. Big wiggle though. Out of Holmgren, I should say. When you're driving these things and you see the person in front of you wiggle, boy, that really, eyes get big. You start to smell a little bit of blood in the water, knowing that, okay, a mistake is inbound, and I've got the momentum now, which is exactly what Philip Axelson has. He's closed down 2/10 on the straightaway alone.
He has. He's right about where Holmgren was in the previous lap. So look for Holmgren, if he can stay close, coming through the 2-3-4 combo, to really send it going into 5. And right now he is not close enough.
Yeah, no, on board with Philip Axelson. He had a mare of the first couple of corners there on this lap. Would be expecting the leaders to come down pit road this time. Never mind. Sam Hammerstedt continuing on. Well, to be fair, this is the start of lap 13 of this stint, so it may be next time.
Something just happened with Haflides Johansson.
Yeah, Haflides Johansson did have a big off, as the next Bright Esports versus Bright Esports battle will be Sebastian Broberg and Alexander Olsen. As here comes Johansson down into turn 5. Too much gas too early? Yes, sir.
You know, Frank, we were talking about how hot it is. That track temperature's gone up and the wind has still stayed heavy.
It's a difficult little situation to try to navigate, as the wind is blowing almost directly south. It's got a little southeasterly turn, but other than that, it's pretty well directly south is how that wind is going. And you're right, that track temp has gone up about 5 degrees Celsius at least.
Which is roughly 10 Fahrenheit from when we started.
Sebastian Broberg going to be set up for a defense here on Alexander Olsen. Not much of a defense there. And Olsen back up into 6th. So Olsen, who had spun, or had sent it long, I should say, in Canada Corner, coming to the pit stop lap. Got himself back from 3rd position all the way down to about 8th. Coming into pit road, has now worked his way back up to 6th.
And a good 19 seconds up the road from that battle is 2 more Bright Esports drivers. Still not letting each other get away is Homer and Axelson are going after each other.
This was this lap. This was earlier this lap. This is Bjorn Brostrom going around. I saw he had an off. Didn't think much of it. But boy, that was certainly a bit of intriguing footage there we just saw.
Absolutely was.
See here on board of Axelson. That's the second top driver that's, I'm sure, a little bit less than entertained by Bjorn Brostrom over the last couple laps. We heard Michael Haflides have his problems with him before. Now you see the left front damage on Melvin Axelson, as Sebastian Broberg not letting Olsen get away too much, as big wiggle there from Broberg.
Olsen and Broberg staying in contact of each other. And I believe that was Bjorn Brostrom in front of them. Yes, it was.
Do love this new WEC style overlay that SDK came out with not all that long ago, probably about a month or so ago. This overlay came out, and one of the nice features about this overlay that you don't really think of and that you don't really see is that little blue bar that's between where the overall standings are and where the race time is, that is a visual cue. It's basically like an hourglass. As that line gets smaller and smaller, that means the closer and closer we are to the end of the race. So we are well beyond halfway at this point, coming on just 45 minutes to go here at Road America. Again, these races are at all different times. So Sebring in 2 weeks' time will be 2 hours. Indianapolis will be this same hour 40. Road Atlanta will come in at an hour and 45, and then Daytona will be 2 hours and 40 minutes. Instead of the Daytona 24, it'll be the Daytona 2.4 to close out the season.
Sure.
Well, we saw, remember, last year with, or what was it? Was it last year or 2 years ago with majors? It would have been 2 years
2
ago.
hours
Wow,
and
that
40
would have been
minutes
2
is
years ago.
Yeah, but 2 hours and 40 minutes is not 2.4 hours.
Anyway, well, instead of the 24, it's the 2.4.
Sure.
That's the point of that. So Jonas Schoberg.
Math majors, get your 8 mil coming now.
I'm not the one that did it. We've got a couple of retirements to keep you abreast of. Philip Broberg is done for the day in the 117. He is out of the race, as well as Sebastian Magnussen in the 877. He is done for the day as well. Victor Hammerstrom has been down pit road now in the 62.
It's his second stop in as many laps as well. Apparently trying to get that damage repaired, and it didn't fix it properly, so he's back down to...
He's a couple laps down at the moment here, as is Heflidi Johansson and Bjorn Broström. Sam Hammerstedt right now going through the carousel. It has been Sam Hammerstedt's show here tonight, currently out in front by 28.3 seconds over Jonas Gunnarsson. We came in, he was a second and a half quicker than anybody else in practice, qualified a second quicker than anybody else, and now just about a second faster a lap than everyone else, is about to start lap 30 and 28 and a half seconds ahead.
He was the only one for the last 2 laps that has gone sub 1 minute 54.
He's still in the 1 minute 53s. He's
and the only one doing it.
From his best lap, his best lap is a 53.07. He is still within a second of his best lap.
And that's impressive, especially this deep into a run.
Which means that would have been a quite a short pit that we saw earlier on, because we're working lap 31 right now of this race, and I don't think we'll get to the 65 that we saw at VIR last time out.
Well, VIR is a much shorter track too.
In Sebring in 2 weeks' time, so we've seen the new scan of VIR. We're also going to see is Alexander Olsen has allowed Sebastian Broberg back through. See how that happened. Oh, going through Canada corner, a little wide, a little too hot. Marcus
Frank, I'm
Stiller
sure
as well.
I'm sure you've seen some of the new content that iRacing has been teasing over the past week or so.
I absolutely have, and you know what? We will get into that when we come back from this break. How does that sound?
That sounds like a grand idea, sir.
All right, so we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. We are an hour down, 40 minutes to go here at Road America. Sam Hammerstead ahead by 28.5 seconds as we near the second round of pit stops.
Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig. Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Back here at Road America for the Storängens Bilvåra at Road America. You're seeing Lucas Holmgren come down pit road right now, and Sam Hammerstedt had enough of a lead that he was able to come down to pit road, come back out without losing his spot. 33.3 seconds clear of Jonas Gunnarsson, as Gunnarsson currently sits in the second position. Michael Haflidason 8.5 seconds behind Gunnarsson. Daniel Holmer and Melvin Ackerson are not that far behind either. That is your top five. Sebastian Broberg and Linus Broström, both very, very close to each other on the racetrack. Broström taking less fuel than Broberg, about 4 seconds less. It's about to pay off on the track right now.
Broberg and Broström going after each other right now. And, you know, you got to think that Broström is playing the, the weight savings card right now. He's got less fuel load on. That car is going to be a little bit more nimble, especially during the twisties of the backside of this course. And, this is going to be his best shot to get in front of Broberg.
Just about a half hour to go, a little bit less than a half hour to go here at Road America. Sam Hammerstedt has been out in front for a vast majority of this race. The only time he has not led, same as Alexander Olsen really, from VIR a couple of weeks ago. He's only surrendered the lead on the pit cycle. Beyond that, he has been out in front of this race and well in command. Michael Haflidason was running in second for a while before he had an off during the first stint of the race. That handed second off to Jonas Gunnarsson, and from there on, Gunnarsson has been in second. Haflidason, as you can see, has recovered up to third, but still resides about 8 seconds behind Jonas Gunnarsson.
And Frank, I'm looking at the laps that these guys came down for their pit stops. I don't think Hammerstedt actually lost the race lead.
No, he didn't.
So he's already ahead of where they were last week.
He had a pit stop ahead. He was a pit stop ahead by the time, because Hammerstedt came down on lap 34. Gunnarsson came down on lap 33. So not only is he a lap ahead at that time to be able to come down and make the pit stop, or the pit stop ahead, I should say, not a lap ahead. He was already that pit stop ahead, plus he was able to take on less fuel with only a half hour to go as compared to 32 minutes, just say.
Well, I mean, we're going to see if it was enough. That's going to be the biggest deciding factor, is did he put enough fuel in to get him the rest of the way?
We have seen that before, as we see Sebastian Broberg looking back at Linus Broström. And after that close battle at the front straightaway a lap ago, it has settled firmly in the hands, that position I should say, is settled firmly in the hands of Sebastian Broberg right now in that number 53.
Broström's backed his pace up a little bit. He's kind of, I think he's gambling right now that he's got enough fuel on that thing. And 32 seconds in the box, I don't think he got enough fuel in it without having to save a couple of laps to get him home the rest of the way. And the other thing to consider too, we still have 14 cars on the lead lap, Frank. Or I'm sorry, we have 10 cars left on the lead lap. And to the leader, 14 if you go back to second place.
Philip Axelson right now running in 10th. Here he is, behind Lucas Holmgren. These are the last two cars that are on the lead lap. They're a minute and a half behind Sam Hammerstedt, which puts them about 25 seconds still ahead of Sam Hammerstedt, as we'll throw the track map up once again. Car you're seeing on screen right now is the 019. You see him on track there, right at the start-finish line, down at the bottom of the track map. Look all the way over to the far right for the number 74. even being a minute and a half behind, still has pretty much the entirety of the front straightaway on, maybe a little less now after that bobble. Still has about the entirety of the front straightaway on Sam Hammerstead. That's how big this track is.
4 miles, 14 turns, one of the most historic road courses in North America. You know, for the longest time, they just named it to the nearest city, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. You know, I remember when I was in karting as a kid, you know, this was one of the races that you absolutely wanted to come to as a karter, because even the kart races here are huge. And then, you know, as you progress up through the ranks, the SCCA stuff, the you know, the smaller formula stuff, this is one of the tracks that you have to have in your repertoire of knowing how to get around here with pace.
Well, they say it's 14 corners, but here, this is turn 1. This is turn 2 that we're going through right now. Turn 3 is what we're heading into now. Under the Sargento Bridge, this track, this is how they're numbered. This is turn 3A. This little right left kink here, turn 4. Hard braking into turn 5. Up the hill to Corvette Corner, turn 6. Then, turn 7 is where we find ourselves next. Turn 8, downhill. I believe the carousel is turns 9 and 10, am I correct?
Correct.
So there's turn 9.
The kink isn't really listed as a corner for
Let
some
off.
odd reason.
Turn 10. Turn 11, the kink. Then it's 11A, 11B. Turn 12.
Which is Canada Corner.
Turn 13, the lefty. And then turn 14. Yep, and then turn 14, the end. So we've got a couple of not corners on here. And thank you very much, Jonas Gunnarsson, for taking us around. Probably something we could have done earlier, but hey. Jonas Gunnarsson taking us around in 1 minute 55.188 seconds.
And next time he goes through the carousel, if we can get an extended glimpse view, Frank, that's really where the karting course is here at Elkhart Lake. It's on the exit of the carousel on the inside of the corner.
Yeah, there's another chicane as well here that this track doesn't see a lot of use out of. That is a part of the carousel as well. Coming out of the carousel, there's a left-right chicane that cuts the kink out, that cuts at least a corner of the kink out entirely.
And there's also a short course here that cuts out the entire top half of the track.
Yeah, so this entire part of the track that they're on right now is the part of the track that it cuts out. As here we are on the blimp cam, coming through the carousel under the Johnsonville Bridge. And of course, we're behind all the trees. There we go.
Yeah, that short course runs straight through what is turn 5 tonight, and it dumps you out in what we're calling turn 13.
And you saw maybe the next car that heads through there. We'll take a ride on board here with Linus Broström while we point out some of the other portions of this racetrack that we like to call fun. So again, you're pointing now straight at, there's the karting course right there off to the right.
Yes.
On the downhill.
Yeah, you can see it just before you get into, turn 8.
Through the carousel here. And then you'll see this bit of rumble strips there on the left. That is the left-right chicane that extends this racetrack a little bit further. That doesn't get used all that often. This is the primary circuit around here.
The only time that chicane really gets used is during NASA races, some SCCA races.
And right there, that big patch of road that you saw right there, that's, as Tony had mentioned, that's the short course around here, coming back onto the main raceway. So it's basically turns 1, 2, 3, 4, well 3A, 4, and then going down to 5 is the
yeah, they eliminate 5 and dump it back out where we're calling turn 13 tonight.
So let's jump back on board here with Linus. So coming straight onto here, under the bridge. And then instead of braking for this corner, you would just go straight on through that tire wall there that was straight ahead. And that would be where you would start to brake to get back around through 13 and 14 to get back onto the main straight.
And the only time I've ever actually seen that used is when the Robbie Gordon Stadium Truck Series.
Yes.
They used that section because they put a jump right about where the tire wall was, and I think it was IndyCar weekend that they did it, and they put a jump right about where the tire wall would be at the end of 5, and continued on, because let's face it, it's something completely different when the Indy cars and the LMP2s are flirting with 180 going into Canada corner. Those stadium trucks are lucky if they're hitting 125, maybe 130 at full tilt.
The chicane layout at the back behind the carousel, that is in iRacing.
Yes.
The short layout that we're describing now that cuts out this entire half of the racetrack is not in iRacing. The only game that I can remember that being in is in Forza Motorsport. That's the only time. I think it was Forza 6, maybe. Forza 5, possibly.
You could run it. You could also run it in R Factor 2.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
No, R Factor 1. I'm sorry, R Factor 1. They did away with it for 2.
Yeah, there's not many sims. There's not many games, period. Forget about sims, but not many games that you can run that portion of racetrack on. As we see Jonas Sjöberg on track, Pontus Nordgren and Christopher Dahlstrand all battling for the 11th position. These three guys have a lot to fight for amongst each other, but once they figure out who is the supreme amongst these three, there's not much to fight for after that, as it's 38 seconds, make it 39 now, up to Philip Axelson for 10th.
We've seen a completely different dichotomy this week than we saw at VIR. And I don't know if it's the fact that a lot of guys weren't sure if they were going to run at VIR, and the guys that did know that they were going to run put in the work ahead of time, and now here we are the second week into this series, and guys have had 2 weeks to learn this track and car combination. I'm not sure why, but we are seeing a vastly different dichotomy in the running order.
See, right now that's 787. Or pardon me, 757, I should say, of Jonas Sjöberg. Right now, the biggest mover of the race, plus 9 spots. Sebastian Broberg plus 8, so it's been a solid day for him. Everyone else roughly around their starting position.
Yeah, with Sjöberg in 11th being your biggest mover at plus 9, Broberg, as you mentioned, plus 8 in 7th. And then you look behind Broberg, and it's something we weren't really expecting to see this deep into the run, 8th and 9th, the two teammates are trying to reel in that bright esports car in front of them, and they're not having an easy time of it.
No,
I mean, both of them gambled on that pit strategy, and it doesn't seem to be paying off.
Yeah, Linus Brostrom is flirting with being a second behind Sebastian Broberg through a lot of this lap. Lucas Holmgren is still about 2.5 seconds behind Linus, as this battle that we're seeing on screen right now between Sjoberg and Nordgren starting to get a little bit closer, as this is the closest that Nordgren has been in a couple of laps. Got to make a move quick. It's only a couple of laps to go. Just a good 17 minutes left before the end of this race. And again, these races run to time. It's not time plus 1 lap. It's not time plus 2 laps. It's time. So if you cross the line with a second left, you're going all the way around again. If you come up short by a second, you don't have to go around again.
Which is refreshing to see. You know, you struggle. Some of these guys have struggled all hour and 30 minutes that we've been doing this so far, or hour and 23 minutes we've been doing this so far. You're just counting down what's left and go, okay, come on, let the suffering end, and let's move on to Sebring.
There are some
you want to talk about a track that's got a ton of layouts available to it.
Yeah,
Sebring. This has nothing on Sebring. Good grief! I think there's like 8 different layouts you can run at that track.
And during the last update, Sebring had gotten a lot of those layouts. It also got a complete and total rescan and remodel. So much in the same way that VIR did to open up the season, we're going to be seeing another new version of this layout as Pontus Nordgren going around Jonas Sjoberg right now. You had mentioned before we went to break some of the new content that iRacing is getting set to release. We know the Jerez International Circuit in Spain, the former one of the season enders for Formula One. It was on the Formula One calendar for a long time. It's on the MotoGP calendar now. Used to be the home of winter testing for Formula One as well, which started today, by the way. So Formula One coming back if you're a fan. So Jerez is going to be coming in this update, in the Season 2 update for iRacing, as well as we found out today the Renault Clio for the Renault Clio Cup, as Sjoberg and Nordgren get very, very close with each other. The Renault Clio is coming to iRacing as well this update.
And I've driven the Clio in other sims, and that is such a fun car to huck around a track. You know, kind of like the Toyota 86 that they released back in Christmas. You don't think it's going to be that much fun until you get behind the wheel of it and start hucking it around with identical cars. It's basically like if a Mazda Miata Cup car actually had handling. That's the best way I can describe it.
I also believe that I saw something, it's from about a week ago, that the Formula Rookie car is going to be coming here as well. Not sure if that's going to be a replacement for the Formula V.
Oh, the
if
F16?
Yes, the F1600.
Yes.
So the Formula Rookie is going to be coming to iRacing as well. So we know of at least 2 cars and 1 track. iRacing likes to surprise us every now and again.
And they're saying that there's this coming update, there's supposed to be a big update on the dirt oval side of things.
Could that mean AI racing?
Oh, be still my heart.
That could be fun. I could think of a couple of things we could do with AI dirt racing.
Oh, hell yeah.
As Nordgren, boy, big lock up there from Sjoberg, but able to keep the spot, or take the spot back, I should say. And through that, Christopher Dahlstrand taking the spot away from Pontus Nordgren. Again, this for 11th.
Nordgren on the older tires now is starting to struggle. He's already worn all of the goodie, as I like to call it, off the tire. And now it's elbows up, and unfortunately, he's starting to drift back a little bit, as both Schoberg and Dahlstrand are starting to pull a gap on him.
And Nordgren, a couple of bad corners there. He's already fallen a second and a half behind Christopher Dahlstrand, who we see on screen right now in this number 80. Right on board with Dahlstrand, heading down towards Canada Corner. It'll be interesting to see what they do. A little wide there from Schoberg, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Formula 2000, with the Formula 1600, the Formula Rookie, because Formula V is the rookie car. They just came out with the Dallara, the F2,
right?
And that's the D class, as is the Skip Barber. And the Skip Barber is one of the more popular cars on this service still. So I would hate to think that they're getting rid of the Skip Barber. But also, it's a rookie car. It's a Formula rookie car, so I couldn't imagine it being a C-class car.
I wouldn't think so. Although, the way that they've been handling the road side of things in iRacing, everything you ran in rookies, you can run again once you get to C.
See, that to me, I see, and they do it for the most part, is that it's a ladder system. So rookie class, you run the slowest car. It's the entry-level car. D class, you get a little bit more power. Say if you're running the open wheel car, maybe it's the Skip Barber. It's the Skip Barber and the Formula Rookie. And then you go up another class, and then you get to the Formula 3, the Formula 4. Then you get to B class, and it's the Renault 2.5, and then up to Formula 1 in A class. And it is that way for the most part. But I just can't see an entry-level car being anything over a D-class car, and the two D-class cars that they have are very, very popular.
They are. The only thing I can think that they're going to do is they're going to move one of them up to C.
I would have to think it's the new Dallara that they just brought in.
Yeah,
with the halo, as Lucas Holmgren just saw getting around his teammate, Linus Broström. Philip Axelsson right there as well, so a nice little battle for 8th coming down to the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, Broström is backed off. I don't think he got enough fuel in onto that last pit stop, as he and Holmgren are the only two that went sub 33 seconds in the box. So, it may not sound like much, but an extra second of fuel could be a lap and a half around this joint.
Interested to see what that yellow light is. If you look right under the air intake on the top of the car, there's a yellow light on Broström's car. That same light is blue on both the 021 and the 019, as there goes Philip Axelsson around. I know it's a color coding, and usually those color codings are for class, but it's all the same class.
Well, what I was thinking was it might be license, but it would be green for Broström instead of yellow, being as, he's a B and the two cars around him are both A's.
Could be it as well. I know in real life it's typically to denote class.
Right.
Especially between like the GT Daytona and the GT Pro-Am cars, those don't really have too much of a visual difference. So they highlight them with different color neon.
Right. I'm not 100% certain. Let me see if I can get an answer for us.
Let's look up on the Google machine. You have 8 minutes to search this up on the Google machine.
I'm doing so now. Google, don't fail me like you did earlier today.
And that's not my 8 minutes. That's the race's 8 minutes. As Christopher Dahlstrand looking to the inside of Jonas Sjoberg, couldn't get it done. Was able to hold off Pontus Nordgren successfully, though. It's again this battle for 11th, 12th, and 13th between these three drivers. A little bit of a wiggle there out of Nordgren. And while these guys are battling, that 0-13 of Marcus Stiller is looming in the background. He's still a good 3 seconds behind, but if these guys start battling, especially as Sjoberg has a big lockup, if these three start battling, this could be a four-way battle here for 11th come the end of this race. Dahlstrand right back up to Jonas Sjoberg. 7 minutes to go, so about 4 or 5 laps. Very good run through the carousel, especially out of the carousel for Christopher Dahlstrand compared to Jonas Sjoberg, and that really says a lot in the speed department. Not quite able to get within striking distance before Canada corners. We ride on board with Dahlstrand. Ooh, big dive going into turn 14. Couldn't quite make the move stick. And now Dahlstrand is going to come under fire from Nordgren. Side by side, heading down the front straightaway. And unfortunately, Dahlstrand is pinched behind Sjoberg, and that will give the position to Pontus Nordgren.
And that light that you were talking about, Frank.
Yes.
That is the traction control light.
Oh, okay.
Blue is on, yellow is off.
Oh, well, there you go. Pontus Nordgren right now. Not quite able to get around the outside. He's going to open himself up to getting passed by Christopher Dahlstrand one more time, going into turn 6.
Not where I would want to be too wide, especially on the outside.
Not a traditional passing zone, but makes it work. Alexander Olsen down pit road with 5 minutes to go. Well, ain't that interesting?
Very much.
Oh, it's a pass-through. It's a pass-through.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Anyone north of 25 incident points, you're going to have to serve a pass-through, and then every 15 incident points after that.
Comes out between Linus Broström, who's running in 9th, and the race leader, Sam Hammerstedt. It's for position between the 71 and the 292. And Olsen will get that position back, or at least one of those positions back.
Meanwhile, got to be careful here.
Meanwhile, back at the other end of the track, Marcus Stiller has joined this battle, which has been a little bit disjointed. As Jonas Gunnarsson now coming up to this group, running in 3rd place, 50.5 seconds behind. Something tells me that's not going to be the easiest gap to make up in 4.5 minutes.
No. No, he's got to hope for Hammerstedt to have a big issue.
Anything is possible, unless big lock up there from Pontus Nordgren. Well, Michael Haflidason is right there as well. Haflidason has caught up a lot on Jonas Gunnarsson. We've been so busy watching some of these battles in the midfield that we completely missed that Haflidason has almost completely erased this gap to Gunnarsson for second. It's within 2 seconds, and with how much lap traffic there is, it could help him quite a bit.
Oh, it definitely is going to help him quite a bit. But, you can't help but wonder at this point, what would this race look like had Haflidason not had that issue on lap 1?
Yep, absolutely. Haflidason was running in second at the time. It is proven routinely here tonight that he has had that second best car. As Nordgren and Stiller now going side by side, this is not going to help Haflidason catch up to Gunnarsson, but makes it quick. Nordgren gets out of the way. Stiller, not so quickly, but then again, got to take the line in the corner. 2 minutes to go.
2 minutes to go, so just over a lap. Depending on where Hammerstedt is.
Hammerstedt's coming through the carousel now.
So yeah, we're
one more full lap after this, and then it'll be curtains. So we are on 2 laps to go effectively. Not too bad to be able to get 52 laps completed around this behemoth of a racetrack in 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing to see, these guys put on the show that they put on today. We kind of expected when we saw who showed up, Sam Hammerstedt was going to do Sam Hammerstedt things. And he has. As a matter of fact, last time by, he was the only one to go sub 155. Oh, with a 154.10. This lap for him, 153.3.
That's only a couple of tenths off of his best lap of the race. As Jonas Gunnarsson now in between the battle that we were watching before between Jonas Sjoberg and Christopher Dahlstrand. You can see Michael Haflidason has closed the gap. It is now 1.3 seconds behind. As we are coming up on the final 30 seconds, off goes Sjoberg. That will give the position to Dahlstrand and put one less car of resistance in between Gunnarsson and Haflidason.
The 80 just followed the 33 through and wanted nothing doing with it. As Haflidason now in the slipstream of the 80 coming up the hill for the final lap.
Try to use that draft as much as he possibly can. He's within a second of Jonas Gunnarsson. This is where the battle is going to be. The race is officially over. We have run out of time on the race, so 1 lap to go for these drivers. Battle for second is now down to within a half a second.
And they're just now coming up under the Sargento Bridge into the downhill leading to 5. Haflidason is going to close up here. He's not going to be close enough to make anything stick, but now he's putting the pressure on Gunnarsson as they come up the hill under the Corvette Bridge for the final time.
Haflidason.
Hammerstedt onto the main straightaway for the final time. He can see the checkered flag in the air, but this battle for second between Gunnarsson and Haflidason is a slugfest.
Sam Hammerstedt will win here at Road America. His first race, his first win. But again, as Tony mentioned, the battle is for second position. Just inside of a half a second, 1 passing lane to go, and a big draft zone coming to it.
They flash by the DRS sign through the kink into Canada corner. Haflidason is close enough. Defensive line for Gunnarsson. They both stay on track. A little bit of a wiggle for both of them coming up through the S's.
It's going to be quite the battle here for this second position, as both these guys have 1 more corner to negotiate. A little bit of a wiggle out of Haflidason on corner entry. Doesn't go as wide on corner exit, but it is not going to be enough. Haflidason needed 1 more lap. It'll be a second place finish for Jonas Gunnarsson. Haflidason needed about 4 more miles.
But what a recovery drive for the
Absolutely.
81. I mean, completely written off on lap 1 and then just battled and battled and battled. May not have turned the fastest lap of the race, but I'd love to see what race pace average looks like for that 81 team. I dare say that they're probably right on pace with what Hammerstedt was turning as far as average lap time.
Daniel Holmer comes home for 4th, 5th for Melvin Atkinson. Lucas Holmeren coming across the line now. That will be a 6th place. Sebastian Broberg coming through. It'll be a 6th place for him. So Bright Esports goes 4, 5, 6 in this race. Lucas Holmeren not that far behind, about 2.5 seconds behind. He will be the final finisher of the race here tonight. And Tony, I believe you have our race winner, Sam Hammerstedt, with you right now.
Sam Hammerstedt missed the season opener at VIR, came back and made a statement here tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Talk us through just... We saw that the money stop come through. Were you second guessing how much fuel you took on, or did you know you had enough no matter what?
No, actually, it could have gone pretty wrong. I had 0.8 liters left when I went over the finish line. I had my fuel calculator was not working. It said I had to fill the tank all the way up, and that I wouldn't make it to the end on the last stint. So in the second stint, I was fuel saving every lap. I was saving like half a liter of fuel every lap, losing maybe 0.8 a second per lap in the second stint, just because I thought I had to get that extra lap in from the second stint to make it. But that wasn't true. I could have filled the full tank and it would have been okay without fuel saving. But now I could take on less fuel in the last stint.
Well, as the season moves on, in 2 weeks we're going to be at Sebring. What are your thoughts going into that monster of a former Air Force base?
I think I'm going to have some rough patches on my hands after that round. The track is so bumpy, and in these cars for quite a long race, you're gonna feel it.
Feel it you are. But Sam, welcome back. Congratulations on the victory here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Go enjoy some cheese. Before we let you go celebrate, who do you need to thank for the victory tonight?
Well, I have to thank Force Esports for their continuous faith in me and their support, and yeah.
Well, Sam Hammerstedt, a man of few words. Congratulations. We will see you in 2 weeks at Sebring.
Thank you.
And Frank, I believe you have Jonas Gunnarsson with you now.
I do. Jonas, that was pretty smooth sailing for you for most of the race after Haflidason had his little spin. But right there at the end, boy, he gave you a run for your money.
Yeah, I was looking at his lap times the whole race and tried to match them as the best I could, and it was enough by a little.
How difficult is this racetrack in this car? There's a lot of tight 90-degree corners, Corvette corners completely blind, a lot of heavy braking zones. How tricky can this track be in a car as fast as this?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, but as long as you manage your braking points and brake very late in every corner, then it's quite fun to drive.
All right, in 2 weeks' time, we head to Sebring. What are your thoughts going into quite a different track? Still a lot of speed, but a heck of a lot more corners.
Yeah, last time I drove Sebring, like 3 years ago, I thought it was a fun track to drive. One of my favorites.
Well, you'll be surprised when you come back to see it in 2 weeks. It's gotten a complete facelift from what it was. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
No. Thanks to you guys and the league, of course.
All right. Fair enough. Jonas Gunnarsson, your second place finisher tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. And Tony, that would mean third place. Michael Haflidason is yours.
Michael Haflidason, all things considered, can't be too disappointed in a third place finish, especially after what happened on lap 1.
I mean, considering all that happened on VIR with me getting a stop and go and my car being demolished, I mean, yeah, this was a really good race. And I did a mistake in, I think it was lap 1 or 2 or something. And that was my own mistake. Just locked up the brakes and the traction control just turned me around. Had to fight my way back, and I think I did it quite well.
Dropped all the way to 20th on the first lap and clawed your way back to a podium. I mean, we've already heard from your competitors. How difficult was it to maintain and carry the momentum around this track and not let the car get away from you?
Oh, well, as you saw by my spin, it was very difficult. But once you get into a flow, I think it was really nice to drive. Then it was no problems for me, at least. I don't know, in the first pit stop after that, I never got going again, and I was never getting into a rhythm. So having a reset again for the last stop was very nice, and that helped me a lot, I think.
All right, we'll move into Sebring in 2 weeks. What are your thoughts going into that 17-turn monster?
Well, I have never liked Sebring. AM Racing Team is a sponsor of the race, and since that, I hope to win, but I know it's not going to happen because we have some.
Well, don't count yourself out, because stranger things have happened, as we saw during the GT3 division. But Michael, we're going to let you go celebrate the recovery drive. Awesome job tonight. Who do you need to thank for getting you the podium?
Well, obviously, of course, AMRT as usual. They with a great rig. I mean, I love the rig. I can't say much more. And of course, my teammates for being really nice and supportive after my mistake.
Michael Haflidason, again, congratulations on a podium. We'll see you in 2 weeks in Sebring.
Thank you.
And Frank, that puts another one in the books for us.
I heard that. Yeah, a very, very
I was
good
reading
race.
the race winner's name in my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a very good race. A lot of moments around a very, very big racetrack, and a lot of great racing throughout the field. A 54.5-second win for Sam Hammerstedt in his season debut. Not all that shabby for the man who won the championship in the GT3 series. And with that, we'll take a look at the final results here. Sam Hammerstedt, again, winning the race. Jonas Gunnarsson, Michael Haflidason, Daniel Holmer, Melvin Atkinson, your top 5. Sebastian Broberg, Lucas Holmgren, Philip Axelsen, Alexander Olsen, and Linus Brostrom coming away with the top half of your field.
Christopher Dahlstrand coming home in 11th, 12th, going to Pontius Norgren, Jonas Schoberg, Marcus Stiller, and Bjorn Brostrom running out your top 15. Victor Hammerstrom, Haflidi Johansson, August Johansson, Sebastian Magnussen, and Philip Broberg rounding out the 20 cars that started this piece. Gustav Jansson did not make it through tech to start the race.
And so with that, that will do it for us here on the LMP2 side. Be sure to join us next week for the Svenska eRacingligan's Cup Series season finale, regular season finale at Talladega, where we trim the championship hopefuls from about 60 to 15. It is going to be quite a wild race next Thursday. But until then, for my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. We will see you all next week. Good night, everybody.